Hello, friends. Thanks for tuning into this week's Brain Food. I wanted to talk today about hourly pricing versus fee-based pricing, and this is something that I have been figuring out for years. Actually, it happened over the last 15 years, and it's worth talking through because there are I'm hoping to convince you that there are times when hourly rates just don't make sense based on the value that you're delivering. So it's something to think about. So let's rewind back to the days when I was working with an IT support company. And whenever we sent our guys out to do work, it was $150 an hour, right? And we would just record that time, and every month we would send them an invoice for the time spent that was out there. And so when I started this company in 2009, when I was setting up my fees for a half-day engagement, which is basically 4 hours, all I knew at the time was $150. So I thought, yeah, let's start with that. So for a 4-hour engagement, I was charging $600. And by the time I left, all of their marketing stuff from a storytelling perspective, stories on their website, pushing to social media, all these things were going to be done for the month. And at the time, an ad in the Business Journal of Kansas City was $1,500 a month for a very small spot. And so I realized my pricing for what I was doing was just way off. Also, another thing that was interesting is over time, I've always been able to type very quickly. And because I'm an IT guy, I have pretty efficient processes for working with my clients. And I'm very quick on the keyboard, and I can bounce around and do lots of things very quickly because that's just the way my brain works. And when you do hourly pricing and you're good and efficient like that, compared to somebody else that takes 2 or 3 times to do the same amount of work that you just did in a shorter amount of time, you're actually penalizing yourself if you're super efficient at what you do. So I talked to quite a few people here in Kansas City about my pricing, and I had current clients, Gina Stolke, I'm looking at you, and Jennifer Peak, I'm looking at you for the consulting conversation that we had at Panera. People were telling me, Jason, you've got to raise your prices. It just doesn't make sense to do this much work for $600 an hour. And so I made adjustments, and over the years I've made many adjustments. And so my half-day engagements are much, they're thousands of dollars for half-day engagements. But the 15 clients that I have and all the people that hire me to do LinkedIn training are fine paying those fees because they understand that, for example, if I do LinkedIn training for a group of salespeople, whatever the fee is that I charge for that training, if one of their salespeople picks up on all the best practices that I'm teaching them and puts them into use, they could sell one more deal that year and crush the fees that I was charging for that one class. And so it's interesting when you start looking at, okay, well, I'm going to go do this thing that takes me 3 hours. And you can associate an hourly rate with that. And there's plenty of companies where that totally makes sense to do it that way. But if you know exactly what you're doing and you're guiding your client to getting to the end goal, and they have almost no hassle and no problems to deal with because you're the expert and you know exactly how to do it, charging hourly might be a disservice to yourself and to your organization in terms of the value that you're actually providing. And I'll leave you with this idea. There's a story, I think it was a Seth Godin story. I can't remember where I heard this story before, but I absolutely love it. So there's a company, I don't know if this is a made-up story or not, but let's assume it's fictional. There's a company that was losing $100,000 an hour because their computer system wasn't working properly. Massive system that supported thousands of customers and all this stuff. And it was down. And their IT team couldn't fix it. And they were losing, like I said, $100,000 an hour. Well, after 2 days of this, and the IT team scratching their heads not knowing what to do, they decide to bring in an expert, an outside consultant. And the consultant comes in, looks at the situation, here's what the problem is, and is there for 30 minutes and makes a couple of quick changes to some code and then walks away, and it's all fixed. And the next day the CEO gets an invoice for $50,000. And of course he's enraged. Why is the invoice $50,000 when you were here for 30 minutes? And the consultant responds with, well, I knew the switches to flip, and that stopped you from losing $100,000 an hour. And so it's a bargain. And the CEO pays the check. And so that's a simple story, and the numbers are massive, so, take it with a grain of salt. But the idea is still true. If you are an expert in what you do, and you're very efficient at what you do, it probably makes a lot more sense, especially if the things that you're doing for a company directly impact the bottom line from a sales or marketing perspective. It probably makes more sense to do fee-based and project-based pricing than hourly pricing because of all the experience that you're bringing to the table and all the best practices and processes that you're bringing to the table compared to somebody that was just trying to figure it out as they went, that could spend 10 times the amount of time doing what you do and not even get to a successful result after all that effort anyway. Because it takes many years of experience to know how to train on LinkedIn and how to do blogging successfully and professionally and all these other things. So I thought that was an interesting concept to share with you guys, that I've had recent conversations about that, but also over the years, many conversations about fee-based versus hourly-based pricing. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about that. Would love to hear the feedback and how you're handling pricing in your business. This is probably an ongoing conversation too. I feel like I should do a LinkedIn Live or something, or a YouTube Live, and just have a conversation with as many people that wanted to show up for this, because there are lots of thoughts about how to do pricing. And I think at the end of it all, a lot of people are not charging what they're actually worth and the value that they're providing. So that's my thought for today. The brain food is hourly versus fee-based pricing. Sometimes just doesn't make sense. If you're an expert that's seasoned, that knows what you're doing and are very efficient at what you do, and you're going to really make a difference for the companies that you're working with whatever services you're providing, I don't think hourly makes a lot of sense in those situations. I hope you're having a great week. I hope I wasn't all over the place on this one, but I just wanted to do a thought stream for you guys for this brain food. And I'll see you next week.